Welcome to Sacred Texts Summarized, where we journey into the world's most profound and enduring works of wisdom. Today, we will immerse ourselves in Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Far from a dry philosophical manuscript, this unique text unfolds like a private journal, brimming with personal reflections on duty, adversity, inner composure, and the fleeting nature of human life. Though written nearly 2 millennia ago, Meditations continues to resonate deeply with modern readers, offering guidance on how to remain steady and virtuous in a world that can often feel chaotic and overwhelming. Opening the door to Marcus's inner world. Picture yourself in a dimly lit room, surrounded by the hushed sounds of a Roman encampment or a bustling palace corridor gradually settling into silence. Here, an emperor sets aside the trappings of power to pick up a simple stylus and notebook. He is Marcus Aurelius, emperor of a vast empire, yet first and foremost a person wrestling with his own fears, uncertainties, and moral aspirations. These nightly musings, never intended for public eyes, form the text we now call Meditations. What makes them so compelling is their raw, direct tone. We are eavesdropping on a man gently reminding himself, again and again, how to live with integrity and calm under relentless pressure. At its core, Meditations is a series of personal notes. Marcus jots down concise paragraphs filled with advice and observations to keep his mindset on track. He confronts pride, frustration, longing, grief, and the temptations of power. He returns repeatedly to the same set of guiding principles, almost as if he knows that the human mind needs constant repetition to hold on to essential truths. Far from a polished treatise, these pages read like Marcus's own form of self-therapy, a spiritual exercise to anchor him amid the turbulence of wars, political intrigues, and the unpredictable calamities that fate might hurl his way. The power of inner control. One of the first motifs in Meditations is Marcus's unwavering focus on what truly lies within our control. He reminds himself, and by extension us, that while external events can be jarring or painful, our interpretation of these events is ours to shape. You have power over your mind, not outside events, he tells himself. Realize this, and you will find strength. Time and again, Marcus leans on this central idea to resist anger or despair in the face of calamities. Whether a military defeat on the frontier or a betrayal in the imperial court. This notion of inner control is not a glib promise that we can conquer reality through mere positive thinking. Instead, it is an acknowledgement that while life often unfolds beyond our wishes, through natural disasters, shifting political winds, or personal loss, we can maintain a form of sovereignty over how we respond mentally and emotionally. Marcus pushes himself to reject the helpless rage that arises from feeling victimized by life's randomness. Instead, he carefully studies his own reactions, coaxing himself to pause, reframe the situation, and remember that no external misfortune can force his spirit to become bitter or reckless. That choice of interpretation is always his. For many readers, this principle resonates as a deeply empowering stance. It suggests that turmoil, heartbreak, or setbacks need not define our inner well-being. We can suffer physically or encounter grievous disappointments, yet continue to exercise kindness, wisdom, and self-restraint. This is what Marcus insists on. Do not surrender your peace to the chaos of events beyond your command. Embracing life's fleeting nature. If there is a single echo that sounds through Meditations over and over, it is the reminder that life is fleeting. Far from sinking into gloom, Marcus uses mortality as a lens that sharpens our focus on what truly matters. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years, he writes. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. These words serve as an exhortation, Stop postponing virtue. Stop delaying the pursuit of a meaningful life. No matter your status or plans, time glides by and none of us can negotiate an extension. But this confrontation with death is not meant to inspire panic. Instead, it underscores the urgency of living with purpose. Marcus explores how often people waste precious hours brooding over trifles, perhaps nursing grudges, chasing empty acclaim, or dreading possible futures that may never come to pass. He is keenly aware that dwelling on these concerns can devour our days. By bringing mortality to the forefront, he reminds himself to cut through petty distractions and devote his energy to actions that reflect real virtue, patience, fairness, honesty, and generosity. In practice, these reflections on impermanence may prompt us to savour everyday moments, to show gratitude for each dawn, to speak kindly when we have the chance, and to align our goals with deeper values. In a world where we can get lost in social media scrolling or routine drudgery, Marcus's consistent refrain about life's brevity resonates. Use the brief window you've been given to do genuine good and cultivate a serene heart. Turning obstacles into opportunities. One of the most quoted lines from Meditations is, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This idea is a masterstroke of perspective. What if the problems we dread could be reframed as catalysts for growth? To Marcus, adversity is not simply an unfortunate blockade. It is also an opportunity to exercise courage, resilience, and clarity. Imagine a frustrating colleague at work, a sudden financial crisis, or a painful rejection. In the normal course of things, these events might spark anger, despair, or the desire to give up. Marcus, however, suggests a different approach. Treat each setback like a teacher that forces you to sharpen qualities you might otherwise neglect. A taxing situation at work could become a lesson in patience, a financial setback could hone your resourcefulness, and heartbreak might open the door to greater empathy. In this way, Meditations gently encourages us to see life's trials from a vantage point that fosters inner development rather than self-pity. To do this, Marcus reminds himself to pause and reflect before reacting. He actively questions his reflexes. Is he letting frustration or fear hijack his judgment? Could there be a deeper virtue to practice in the face of that obstacle? Again and again, he draws his mind back to a place of discipline, urging himself to transform stumbling blocks into stepping stones. The moral imperative of truth and right action. Woven throughout Meditations is a moral thread that insists on staying true to ethical principles no matter the circumstances. Marcus simplifies the concept to a powerful edict. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Though straightforward, these words carry tremendous weight. They speak to the daily choices that shape a person's character. From how we speak about others behind their backs to how we handle temptations to cut corners in our duties. Marcus constantly checks himself against these moral guidelines, aware that the human mind is skilled at rationalizing small compromises. In the daily hustle for influence or approval, it can be enticing to utter half-truths, to act insincerely, or to twist facts to serve one's agenda. But for Marcus, such behaviour invariably poisons one's sense of inner harmony. He understood that straying from righteousness, even in small ways, plants seeds of restlessness and regret within the soul. This emphasis on moral consistency gives Meditations a timeless quality. Whether one is a modern professional navigating corporate demands or a student balancing social pressure with honesty, Marcus's reminder resonates. Living in alignment with what you genuinely believe to be right may require sacrifice, but it also fosters a calm conscience and a deep sense of integrity that cannot be bought. Gratitude as a daily anchor. Despite the seriousness of many topics in Meditations, there is a warm undercurrent that emerges when Marcus turns his attention to gratitude. Some passages urge him to begin each day by appreciating the gift of being alive. For a man surrounded by warfare and political strife, this practice of noticing blessings, however small, helps counterbalance the weight of worldly burdens. He marvels at the basic miracle of existence, of being able to think, to breathe, to love, to learn. This reflective stance isn't naive optimism. It's a measured acknowledgement that no matter the hardships, life contains pockets of wonder worth celebrating. By integrating thankfulness into his daily routine, Marcus trains his mind to recognize that there is always more to life than crisis or duty alone. We, too, can adopt this habit of pausing before the rush of the day begins, mentally listing what we cherish. It might be the warmth of a sunrise, the presence of dear friends, or the freedom to pursue personal goals. Even in dark times, this mindful gratitude can soften anxiety, as it gently reminds us that while troubles loom, not everything is lost. Within such moments of appreciation, we find sparks of resilience, fueling us to face challenges with a steadier heart. Interconnectedness and our shared humanity. Marcus was no hermit writing from an isolated cell. He was an emperor at the helm of a sprawling empire, overseeing countless individuals of different backgrounds, cultures, and social ranks. Yet, Meditations reflects his profound awareness that all of these people, and indeed all human beings, are interconnected. He states, in one memorable line, "What injures the hive injures the bee," highlighting that when we harm or neglect our community, we inevitably harm ourselves as well. This principle can feel remarkably contemporary. In a world where our actions ripple outwards, through social media, global trade, and shared ecosystems, Marcus's reflections on the unity of humanity hold striking relevance. He believed that the well-being of the whole rests on each individual's commitment to fairness, cooperation, and kindness. When someone acts with malice or selfishness, the damage extends far beyond any single moment. By contrast, each act of kindness or empathy strengthens the broader social fabric. Such reminders encourage us to think twice about how we treat strangers, colleagues, neighbours, and family. By recognizing that we share a common lot in life, we become more inclined to offer understanding rather than hostility, collaboration rather than sabotage. Far from being an abstract ideal, Marcus's conviction in our shared humanity offers a practical guide for forging more harmonious communities. Humility and perspective. All paths lead to dust. Another recurring message in Meditations is the humbling realization that no matter how exalted one's position, no matter how legendary one's accomplishments, everyone ultimately succumbs to time. Alexander the Great and his mule driver both died, Marcus observes, and the same thing happened to both. He repeatedly meditates on how swiftly fame dissolves, how even the memory of mighty conquerors or brilliant thinkers fades as generations pass. At first glance, such reflection may appear sombre, but for Marcus, it is also liberating. By reminding himself that neither gold nor ambition can outlast mortality, he dismantles the illusions that spark vanity or greed. If even the grandest achievements vanish into oblivion, then why squander life on shallow pursuits that only inflate the ego? When we adopt this perspective, we may find it easier to release anxiety about career advancement, social media popularity, or approval from others. That doesn't mean we cease to care about excellence or neglect our responsibilities. Instead, we stop clinging to the false hope that external achievements alone will bring lasting fulfillment. The real glory, Marcus suggests, lies in living each moment with sincerity, compassion, and the recognition that life is precious precisely because it is finite. the ongoing practice of self-reflection. Throughout meditations, Marcus never suggests that any of these insights can be mastered overnight. Rather, he demonstrates the importance of self-reflection as an ongoing process. He writes in repetitive cycles, revisiting similar ideas about taming anger, overcoming fear, or shedding vanity. This repetition reflects how easily we slip back into old habits if we do not persistently remind ourselves of higher principles. It is as if Marcus Aurelius has put himself through a daily mental workout, flexing the muscles of reason and patience so they do not atrophy under stress. Sometimes he scolds himself for failing to uphold these virtues. Other times, he quietly congratulates himself for small victories, resisting a fit of temper or offering empathy instead of judgment. The entire text is an intimate record of how personal growth unfolds in real life through incremental effort rather than grand epiphanies. For today's reader, this cyclical pattern can be a useful reminder that wisdom is not a one-time achievement. We may read these words and feel enlightened one moment, only to lose our temper or act carelessly the next. That does not mean the effort is wasted. Like Marcus, we can keep circling back, reinforcing essential truths, refining our character step by step. Living in accordance with nature. A phrase that often appears in meditations is the invitation to live in accordance with nature. By nature, Marcus does not merely mean the forests and rivers outside our windows, although cherishing the natural world is certainly part of a balanced life. More profoundly, he speaks of recognizing the inherent order and logic woven into the fabric of reality itself. This includes the inevitability of change and decay, the cycle of birth and death, and the intricate connections among all living creatures. To live in harmony with nature, Marcus suggests, means to accept what cannot be changed, to work diligently on what can, and to remain mindful that everything follows a pattern larger than our individual desires. By respecting this grand design, we save ourselves a great deal of needless stress. We stop demanding that reality conform to our whims, and instead adjust our perspective to align with how life truly unfolds. Stoic teachings in general hold that much suffering arises when we insist that events should not be as they are. Marcus points out that such insistence is a path to frustration because we are fighting against the very nature of existence. Yet this attitude does not promote passivity. On the contrary, it empowers us to respond wisely. When we identify what is within our control, we can act decisively. And when we identify what lies beyond it, whether the weather, the past, or other people's choices, we can release the futile urge to dominate. In short, living in accordance with nature encourages a balance between acceptance and initiative, all guided by reasoned understanding. Inner calm amid external chaos. The underlying goal of meditations can be summed up as cultivating inner calm in the midst of life's storms. Marcus faced considerable turmoil, wars on multiple frontiers, political conspiracies, personal tragedies, and the constant weight of imperial duties. Meditations is his strategy for staying centered while the world outside quaked. He frequently reminds himself that anger, fear, and despair do not solve external problems. They only corrode the mind from within. By repeatedly reflecting on how little is truly under his control, he eases the tension that arises from feeling responsible for every outcome. He focuses instead on performing his duties conscientiously, showing compassion when he can, and guarding his mind against negative influences. This approach remains highly relevant. In a fast-paced modern world, a constant stream of news and digital demands can leave us feeling out of control. Marcus's counsel to preserve a sanctuary of calm within ourselves, free from panic or bitterness, offers a possible antidote. When pressures mount, returning to these stoic reflections can slow the racing mind, reminding us that we can respond with grace even if we cannot halt every storm. A quiet, genuine dialogue with oneself. Perhaps the most striking feature of Meditations is its confessional tone. Because these writings were never intended as public discourse, they lack the flourishes of rhetoric or carefully crafted arguments. Instead, we find direct, sometimes blunt statements Marcus addresses to himself, as if jotting down personal affirmations or stern warnings. This authenticity resonates because it speaks to the deeply human task of wrestling with one's own nature. These pages are not an attempt to impress an audience. They are a nightly discipline through which Marcus confronts his failings, questions his assumptions, and reorients his actions toward virtue. Even the repetition of key ideas underscores the truth that lasting change requires consistent reinforcement. In this sense, Meditations is more of a hands-on manual for self-betterment than a polished philosophical treatise. Its power lies precisely in how it models the messy, persistent journey of staying true to one's highest values. Adapting the lessons for our own time. While we no longer live under the rule of Roman emperors or fight on ancient frontiers, the core struggles that Marcus Aurelius describes remain strikingly familiar. We grapple with job insecurity, health crises, societal pressures, and personal heartbreak. The setting may change, but the call to maintain composure, integrity, and humanity is timeless. Reading Meditations today can serve as a reminder that even someone with immense authority and vast responsibilities needed to remind himself daily of the fundamentals. Marcus recognizes that each dawn offers a fresh chance to live by reason and compassion rather than fear or anger. He emphasizes that small acts of honesty, kindness, and patience gradually shape the soul in ways no external achievement can match. His reflections also challenge us to look at how we handle setbacks. If we find ourselves habitually defeated by obstacles or prone to blame others for our distress, we might take a page from Marcus's notebook and ask, is there a virtue here waiting to be cultivated? Have I surrendered my peace of mind to events I cannot change? The simple act of shifting perspective in the face of adversity can open new pathways to growth. Rediscovering the inner citadel. A striking metaphor sometimes used in discussions of Marcus Aurelius's work is the concept of the inner citadel. This inner fortress stands for the mental and moral stronghold where, if properly guarded, no external force can intrude. Although Marcus never explicitly uses the phrase in Meditations, the spirit of the idea pervades his writing. Fortify your interior world with discipline, gratitude, honesty, and kindness, so that external storms cannot shatter your sense of purpose. The passages in Meditations reveal Marcus refining this inner sanctum night by night. He acknowledges threats, war, disease, betrayal, but insists that these remain outside the gates of his own moral agency. The real challenge is to protect the mind from succumbing to destructive impulses such as wrath or despair. Each reflection in his journal becomes another stone reinforcing the walls of this citadel. In contemporary life, building and maintaining our inner citadel might mean setting aside quiet moments in a busy schedule to reflect on how we've handled the day's events. It might involve journaling about successes and lapses in patience or empathy. It might involve a deliberate practice of pausing before reacting to stress. Over time, these repeated acts of self-awareness and self-restraint create an unshakable core of resilience, a place of calm that remains intact no matter the external turmoil. The enduring appeal of Meditations. One reason Meditations continues to captivate readers is its universal humanity. Marcus Aurelius, though clothed in royal purple, wrestles with self-doubt, frustration, and longing, just as we all do. He does not present himself as a paragon, but as a flawed individual striving toward virtue. This unfiltered honesty allows his words to bridge vast distances of time and culture. His insights do not demand adherence to a specific religion or social system. They focus on the universal quest for personal stability and ethical living. Whether you identify as spiritual, philosophical, secular, or somewhere in between, Marcus's counsel to remain principled in the face of life's uncertainties can ring true. We read his writings and feel as though a wise mentor is gently encouraging us to do better, to align our actions with our deeper values, and to find peace without denying life's challenges. Concluding reflections and farewell. As we reach the end of our exploration, think of meditations as an invitation rather than a set of rigid commands. Marcus Aurelius speaks to the quiet voice in each of us that longs to remain steady, honest, and kind in a world that tests our resolve every day. He offers practical insights. Focus on what you can control, remember the fleeting nature of all things, and shape adversity into growth. Throughout this personal journal, we see not a distant emperor, but a fellow traveller on the path of self-improvement. When you put down meditations, these Stoic reminders need not fade. You might adopt a moment of reflection in the morning or evening, echoing Marcus's practice of checking in with yourself. Ask, am I letting the outside world dictate my inner peace, or am I safeguarding my own mindset? In my interactions, am I choosing honesty and empathy? When obstacles appear, can I see them as opportunities to refine my courage, patience, or wisdom? Such simple questions can keep the spirit of meditations alive, making its lessons a living thread in your daily life. Thank you for watching Sacred Texts Summarized. We hope this deep look into Marcus Aurelius's meditations has inspired you to reflect on what genuine resilience, moral clarity, and gratitude mean in your own life. If you found value in this exploration, please like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with more insights from some of the world's most revered and illuminating writings. By weaving these timeless lessons into our routines, we continue the tradition of searching for wisdom that can guide us through both everyday challenges and life's most daunting trials. Until next time, may you find strength within, steadiness of heart, and a renewed sense of purpose grounded in enduring principles.